Zina entered the apartment with a heavy heart, the darkness of the hallway enveloping her. The repugnant smell of alcohol mixed with filth assaulted her senses. Lately, her husband and father-in-law had been imbibing to the point of neglecting basic hygiene. Their actions in the bathroom were evidence enough. "Where the hell are you going at this hour?" bellowed Fyodor Stepanovich, her drunken father-in-law, as Zina barely stepped through the doorway. Her husband, Vasily, lay face down on the table, an empty sauerkraut plate serving as his pillow. A toppled stack of bottles lay beside him. Zina felt a wave of disgust at the sight of her inebriated father-in-law and husband, as well as the unkempt state of the apartment. "We don't have money for more alcohol," Zina responded, mustering all the firmness she could. "What did you say, you worthless woman?" Fyodor Stepanovich menacingly approached his daughter-in-law. His foot caught on a bottle, causing it to crash to the floor. His eyes were vacant, the life in them extinguished, resembling a dead fish. "I said there's no money for vodka," Zina reiterated, her words filled with determination. "What do you mean, no money?" slurred Vasily, briefly lifting his head before collapsing back into his original position. Fyodor Stepanovich continued to advance towards Zina, fists clenched and a drunken hatred manifesting in his face. He swung his fist threateningly at her. Zinaida swiftly dodged the blow, ensuring it missed her, and firmly pushed the intoxicated man away from her. He stumbled and fell to the ground, flailing his arms and legs like an overturned beetle. Not wanting to witness the outcome of this chaotic scene, Zinaida quickly left the room. As she stepped outside, she observed the bustling crowd rushing to the store, preparing for dinner. Sitting alone on a bench in the courtyard, holding onto her worn-out bag, she gazed longingly at her once beloved house. However, now it was consumed by the perpetual drunken revelry of her father-in-law and husband, transforming her life into a nightmare. Their actions suffocated her. She couldn't bear the thought of returning to that house, and the approaching weekend filled her with dread and despair. Was this ever truly my home? Zinaida pondered to herself, perhaps not. She married Vasily out of deep love. He appeared to her as a kind, decent man who was skilled with his hands. Vasily excelled in tasks like nailing, fixing, and screwing. He was a handyman, but time was catching up with her. While she focused on her studies and building a career, she failed to notice that she was already 30, single, and without a family or children. "You, Zinechka, will be my rock," Vasily promised, embracing his bride. Zina wasn't even bothered by the fact that Vasily sometimes smelled when they went out. "It's just my father's tradition before I left home, to gather courage," he would explain, to pacify her displeasure. Zina would then pacify herself, believing that Vasily's nervousness before their dates was a sign of his immense love for her. Her mother and older sister, Lena, tried to convince her otherwise. "Daughter, it is not worried. It is a blatant lack of respect towards you and all of us," Zina's mom exclaimed when Vasily and his father came to meet the bride's family, both visibly intoxicated. However, Vasily's mother assured Zina's family, "Oh no, they were just a little nervous. They only drink like this on special occasions." After Zina, having had heated arguments with her mother and sister, married Vasily and moved in with him and his parents, she quickly realized that special occasions in this family occurred quite frequently. In the beginning, the father and son would drink on weekends from Friday to Sunday. Throughout the entire weekend, Zina and her mother-in-law tirelessly stood by the stove, ensuring that the two inebriated men had something to eat. "We can't go without appetizers. Otherwise, they'll be completely drunk," her mother-in-law declared anxiously. Zina couldn't help but sense that Varvara Petrovna believed this sort of thing was just part of their daily routine. As Monday arrived, the weekend seamlessly transitioned into the rest of the week. Vasily had been fired from his job due to chronic absenteeism. Consequently, Zina had to find a part-time job, as the previous office cleaner had abruptly quit. she had to assertively secure the position for herself. "Zinavka, what do you lack?" "Your salary is decent," inquired the personnel inspector. "My mother-in-law needs medical treatment," Zina blurted out, not quite knowing what else to say. Zina tried her best to advocate for her husband because she loved him dearly. She encouraged him to move out and rent an apartment, but Vasily always responded with the statement, "I can't leave my parents." In truth, as Zina now realized, Vasily was content with such a life. A year ago, Varvara Petrovna passed away. Zina would leave for work in the morning, returning to find her mother-in-law no longer present. In her place were two intoxicated men who failed to comprehend what had occurred. Zina yearned to escape from this situation. The feelings of love for her husband seemed to vanish into thin air. Yet, she had nowhere to run. She felt a great sense of shame in front of her mother and sister, as they had vehemently opposed her decision to marry Vasily 4 years ago. While they communicated sporadically over the phone, sharing news and exchanging pleasantries, Zina never truly divulged the reality of her living conditions to her family. She never visited them either. "Where can I possibly go dressed like this?" Zina pondered, staring at her tattered shoes, a mere remnant of her luxurious past life. "Grandma, do you know where Reliva 17 is?" asked the young woman. Zinaida, feeling slightly overwhelmed by being called a grandmother at 35, raised her head and recognized something familiar in the woman's voice. In the twilight, it was hard to see clearly, but there was something about the figure and the voice that made Zinaida hesitant yet surprised. "Lenka, is that you?" she asked cautiously. The woman seemed taken aback by the surprise, but quickly walked towards Zinaida. "Zinka, why are you sitting here? What's wrong?" the woman exclaimed. "My mother and I have been worried sick about you. She calls me every day, begging me to find you. She says she's been having bad dreams. I guess there was a reason for it." Lena looked at her sister attentively and understandingly. "I've never been here before, but I found you," she continued. Then Lena sat down next to Zinaida and pulled her closer. "Well, tell me." Zinaida couldn't hold back her tears as she poured out the struggles she had faced in the past 4 years. She explained how she had neglected herself, pouring all her efforts and money into taking care of 2 alcoholic men. But today, she had finally decided she had reached her breaking point. "You know, Len, I was actually going to call you." "But you sensed it," Zinaida cried, leaning on her sister's shoulder. "Come on, let's get you ready. We're going to my place," Lena said firmly. She quickly called a cab and reassured Zinaida, "It's already dark, and it's not convenient for you to go to Mom's. Besides, it's just Alyonka at home today, and Nikita is away on a business trip for a week." Zinaida hesitated, worrying about inconveniencing her sister and her family. "Len, it's really not necessary. I can go to Mom's," she cautiously objected. But Lena shook her head stubbornly and replied, "No, we're going to my place first. You can't just show up at Mom's like this. Let's go." She affectionately pushed Zinaida towards the car with a glowing cab sign on the windshield. Zina recalled the sorry state of her tattered bag and worn-out shoes, realizing that she indeed resembled an old woman. She agreed with her sister's sentiment, acknowledging that they shouldn't scare their mother like that. Upon arriving at Lena's house, Zina caught a glimpse of their reflection in the hallway mirror. A disheartening comparison presented itself as Lena appeared a good 10 years younger, despite being older than Zina. Quite an unpleasant comparison, Zinaida thought to herself. The next morning, Lena roused her sister from slumber, enthusiastic about the day's plans. "Wake up, sleepyhead. We have a lot on our agenda today," she cheerfully declared, pulling back the curtains. Zina responded, stretching and remarking, "Oh, Lena, I haven't slept this well in 4 years. Your place is so comforting." The sisters sat at the table, peacefully enjoying breakfast while reminiscing about their childhood and sharing a laugh. Their hearts felt light and at ease. Following breakfast, Lena rummaged through her closet and retrieved elegant attire for Zena. This included a form-fitting dress, a stylish black jacket with a masculine touch, new shoes with a slight heel, and a leather handbag. Handing over the clothes, Lena encouraged her sister, "Here, try these on. They should fit perfectly." Zena was taken aback, exclaiming, "All of this is for me." Lena affirmed, urging Zena to hurry as they still had to make it to the beauty parlor. In just 10 minutes, Zena admired herself in the mirror, clad in her new outfit. Thoughts of joy and pleasure filled her mind as she observed her reflection. Admittedly, her complexion and hairstyle left something to be desired, but her eyes sparkled and a smile graced her lips. Lena entered the room, exclaiming, "Oh, Zinka, you look absolutely stunning." Lena had not hurried her sister all morning for nothing. They had to spend half a day at the salon, but it was worth it. Zena couldn't even recognize herself in the mirror. It was as if all those terrible years with alcoholics, which had drained her of her strength, had been erased. "That's it. Now we can go see Mom," Elena exclaimed with satisfaction, examining her sister from every angle. On the way, Zena stopped to buy her mother's favorite chrysanthemums. Mom couldn't stop crying, holding on to her daughter tightly. "Zina, how could you endure all this? My heart aches for you. I knew you would never admit you were suffering." "Mom, it was truly awful. But now I've left them, and it's for the best. Can I stay with you for a while?" "Oh, my dear, what are you even asking? This is your home." To Zina's surprise, she felt a sense of happiness she had never experienced before. It was as if a heavy burden had been lifted off her shoulders. She could finally live her own life without serving her alcoholic husband and father-in-law. When Zina returned to work, she immediately refused to continue working as a cleaner. "Has your father-in-law gained weight?" asked the personnel department. "Yes, he's completely cured and will never go back," Zina replied with a mischievous grin. In a rush to get home, Zina thought about how many people go through the same routine every day without realizing how fortunate they are. She quickly bought the usual groceries and knew her mother would be waiting at home, asking the usual questions about her day. This had become their normal routine for the past month, and Zina had gotten used to it, assuming it would last forever. Today, she received her salary and wanted to celebrate with a small dinner for her family. With a smile on her face, she left the office building and was caught off guard by the sight of her husband Vasily waiting outside. He appeared disheveled and intoxicated, scanning the faces of those passing by. Zina's heart sank, preparing for a confrontation, but to her surprise, Vasily didn't recognize her. She walked past him, leaving a trail of her new perfume, and felt a sense of relief. Zina thought to herself that Vasily was waiting for an old woman in worn-out shoes. Glancing at her watch, she decided to go file for divorce and embrace the new chapter in her life. An hour later, filled with happiness and satisfaction, Zina was choosing the finest wine at the supermarket. A stranger approached her, unable to resist complimenting her beauty and apparent happiness. Zina smiled mysteriously, feeling a sense of empowerment as she walked away confidently. She knew that she still had a bright future ahead of her.